You're listening to Strange by Nature, your guide to the strange, weird, unbelievable, and improbable wonders of the natural world.
Hello, everyone, and thanks for being here today. I'm Kirk Mona, and joining me are Rachel Gimza and Victoria Thompson. We're all naturalists who together have scoured the world for weird and wonderful wonders, just to please your mammalian brain's desire for novelty. Isn't that nice? Let's do this.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to
Hello.
the show. All of us are here this week, which is exciting because, boy, howdy.
Yeah.
I don't know what you two brought, and I am just intrigued by
I've got
mine.
something cool.
Yeah,
so
Something cool. Well,
Yeah.
that bodes
I have
well for this
something-
podcast about weird things.
Kind of mind blowing.
Ooh,
Good.
Excellent. So I'm not going to lie, my episode this week, so I get to start us off. My episode this week is kind of a precursor for next week. I was going to do a completely different topic. And then the last minute,
Right.
I was finishing up one episode, and then I realized, wait, this thing is actually weird on its own. Maybe I should talk about this
Yep.
first before I go into this other thing.
We've all been there, Rachel.
Yep.
I'm
You're
like,
I got to
okay.
back up to the bigger weird first. Yeah.
Hold on. This is bizarre. So, have either of you, I'm going to just jump right in. Have either of you ever heard of cloud forests?
Yeah, I have.
Yeah. Do either of you know what they are?
I think it's like a forest where it's in a cloudy area and like a lot of moisture comes from the clouds and collects in the trees, and it's like how they get a lot of their water. Is that right?
That's what I was going to say, too.
Kind of. Yeah. So, there's a couple of, so my topic this week is cloud forests.
Cool.
Oh, okay.
It is, yeah. So it is a particular, in particular, I should say, a pretty unique habitat. You don't think of, on this show, we don't tend to focus a lot on different habitats. We tend to do a lot with individual species or like happenstance or phenomenon that ends up going on in different habitats. We've done some extremophiles and we've done some habitats here and there.
Sure, that makes sense.
Yeah.
But this one I thought deserved its own episode because cloud forests on their own are pretty fascinating. So cloud forests only happen in certain conditions. They are a type of rainforest. So rainforests are denoted by a certain amount of precipitation that happens throughout a year. So they have a certain amount of like rain, snow, whatever that happens in a calendar year.
Right.
So there are different types of rainforest. There's temperate rainforest, there's tropical rainforest, and same thing with cloud forest. There can be more tropical and there can be more temperate cloud forests. The bigger difference for a cloud forest versus a rainforest is cloud forests only really happen at higher elevations. That part is really important. They really only happen at anywhere between 3,000 and 8,000 feet above sea level.
Okay.
So
Where there's
generally, yeah, wild, right?
Yeah.
It only happens
picked up on that
really crazy. But it happens most of the time alongside of like mountainous regions.
Yeah.
And for those who don't speak the feet, that's 900 to 2,500 meters. They're also characterized by like having much cooler temperatures than you would expect in more tropical spaces. Again, because generally they're in a cloud. So the definition of the name for a cloud forest is it is a forest that is in a cloud. They're also known as water forests. It generally has very
never heard that term.
persistent and very like consistent cloud cover that is within the forest itself, which is really, really cool because I don't generally think of clouds as being a space that I can be in. I know I've been in clouds, but I also like have debated like whether or not, when does a cloud become fog? You know, what's that difference?
There is technically a difference.
Yeah, I think cloud comes from above and fog comes from like up, right? It feels like
it could be like but it's like I mean, being in a cloud and being in fog, it pretty much the same feeling.
So cloud forests in general are pretty fascinating. They generally are, as you can imagine, they're pretty damp. They're pretty humid, which means that they have a wide variety of mosses. They have a very big plethora of ferns because of the high humidity and the amount of water that is there. They have a pretty high biodiversity, so there are a good amount of species that do not exist anywhere else. It just happens in cloud forests,
cool.
Which is really, really fun. These cloud forests also occur across 4 different continents. It's not just in North America. It's in South America. It can be found in Australia. I had a friend who actually went to a cloud forest in Costa Rica, which was wild and really, really cool. So generally, the cloud forests have a lot of plants that we would consider more primitive, I suppose. There are less woody tree plants. There's more species of bryophyte or of ferns and orchids and epiphytes and lichens, rather than what we would consider like flowers and flowering plants or gymnosperms.
So like a lot of stuff growing on stuff.
Yes, tons of stuff growing on stuff. Yeah.
That's
just
kind of
layers of stuff.
Yeah.
And
stuff
often,
growing on stuff.
Yeah, which then creates like a good peat layer as well, which is really, really good for a lot of biodiversity. Like you can go to
lots of microhabitats and
so many little tiny friends that like to be around.
Little tardigrades having a party.
Oh yeah.
Some moss piglets.
Yeah. So for context, cloud forests are only about 1% of all of the forest habitats in the world. There's only 1% of them are considered cloud forests. And it generally does happen along the equator type space, because it does have to have a certain amount of there has to be some temperature and humidity, and then there's also there tends to be a lot of mountains around the equator for some reason, or at least where they tend to be along the edge of the Andes and such. It's wild. So yeah, so there's a couple different habitats. I just really wanted to talk a little bit about cloud forests. The fact that there's an entire habitat that is about just in a cloud is pretty wild. I know that this probably is not the most wild thing that I've brought up.
I feel like it's set up for next week.
It's
perhaps,
more set up for next week than anything else. I just wanted to touch base on this interesting habitat. For a little bit more or other context, I suppose, is that some things that live in cloud forests, there's a lot of endemic birds and mammals, but a spectacled bear, which are really, really cute.
Oh, yeah.
Those are a cloud forest mammal. They live in cloud forests, and they mostly work on seed dispersal and things like that. But yeah, so that's just a little taste. There's quite a few very interesting things that live in cloud forests, and
you
will
touched
find
on
out.
it a bit.
Yes, I did.
Yeah, I mean, just all the things that are living on things, and that's.
Yeah,
it's very weird. It's very
strange.
Think
about
we have a little bit of that in like a temperate forest, but
Right, but like this is like taking a bog and then putting it in the woodlands and letting it just go
putting it up in the
ham.
air.
Yeah.
It's like putting a bog up in the air.
Yes.
Up a mountain. Yeah.
Like a vertical bog up the side of a tree kind of thing.
So
Yeah, it's real weird.
it's really, really fascinating. Like, I think I said, I think I might have said it earlier, but there's 270 endemic birds
Wow.
endemic birds, mammals, and frogs
Sign me up.
that are found. Like, hold on, I'm almost done with that. They're found in Peru. So like that's how many like species of
just
animals
in
that
Peru.
just live in Peru, and a third of that are only found in cloud forests. So a third
wow.
of that
Oh, I
capacity, which is still pretty, and that's just Peru.
Still a bunch.
So that's still a lot. Yes.
If you want to go on the Strange by Nature tour to Peru, sign up now. Let us know in the comments.
I would love to go. That sounds super fun. So yeah, this is pretty much a setup for next week, so we can at least know a little bit about cloud forest
Gotcha.
before we get into something a little bit more strange. For my woof. So my
Your
sources My sources this week are Wikipedia, Geographical. UK had a really cool thing about explaining cloud forests, as well as Visit Costa Rica had some really cool stuff about the differences
Yes,
between
please.
cloud forests and rainforests. So that is what I
That
have for
should
you both
be
today.
that should be one of the habitats we definitely visit once we spin up our our tours as part of
yeah.
Strange by Nature.
Yeah.
Again, in the comments, let me know where you guys want to go with three
I wanna
professional
go here.
naturalists. We'll do a tour and take people to strange locations around the world.
I love
would
how
be
you're saying that we
amazing.
would take the tour as if we know anything about anything.
No. We are professional naturalists. We would
Are we doing
facilitate
our... Okay.
hiring local guides to take us to these amazing places, and we would
Oh,
facilitate
yes,
amazing experience. That's what a tour host does.
Say, Kirk,
Okay.
what year is the
I'm in
first
on
of these
that.
tours?
Galapagos, maybe?
No,
What's
what
that?
year? What year? How soon?
what year?
2040.
As soon as we can get enough of our listeners to sign up, the tour companies will only book it if we have a core group of people. But, if we had like 30 people who wanted to go on a tour, we can make that happen.
Yeah.
I'd
Let
be
us
in.
know, people. Let
Yeah.
us know.
I'm
I can
in.
make it happen. I know people.
You would know people.
Of course you would.
That's what I do.
All right. So we're going to take a quick break, and when we return, it'll be Victoria.
Hey, we're back. It's hard if you're a plant. It's hard being a plant. Things are always trying to eat you.
True.
And you can't move out of the way.
Exactly. You can't run away. And this causes some plants to become bitter and poisonous.
Quite literally, yes.
Others
I see what you did there.
Others become hardened or prickly. Then, of course, there are those that go for sort of the placating approach. They offer sweets like nectar, hoping to get some pollination help in exchange.
Love it. Yes.
Aw.
But of course, there's some creatures out there that try to take advantage of those who are sweet without giving anything in exchange.
Fair
right.
enough.
Yeah, I am maybe anthropomorphizing a little bit here, but this is a very real problem for plants.
Yeah.
And of course, they've evolved all kinds of ways to deal with it. In particular, today I want to talk about the problem of nectar robbers.
Ooh, yeah. This came up
Interesting.
briefly a while back on
It
the show.
did, yeah.
We
I was
didn't go into it, so.
when I was talking about the sword-billed hummingbird.
Yes.
Exactly. Yeah. Cool.
And,
Callback.
as I talked about then, there are some animals, usually insects, that'll make a hole in the back or underside of the flower and take nectar directly from the nectar chamber, bypassing the pollen. And therefore the flower gets no benefit out of it and the nectar's
Right.
gone. So then there's no reward for actual pollinators.
Right.
Of course, there are legitimate pollinators who enter through the front door, get the pollen all over them, and get their sweet and well-earned reward as well. But as discussed in the hummingbird episode, some flowers have evolved increasingly tough backsides to deter nectar robbers. But there is another way. Some recent research, some recent research shows that some flowers, at least some flowers, can distinguish between pollinators and robbers by sound.
What?
Ooh, what?
Plant hearing. We're getting
By
into the
sound?
world of plant hearing.
What?
What?
Oh my
Yes.
gosh. All right.
Yep.
Okay.
So the first
Oh, man.
real paper on this subject was published in 2019, so this is all pretty recent. A group of Israeli scientists investigated how the beach evening primrose, which is a pretty little yellow flower that kind of spreads in sandy habitats.
Okay, you did say beach eating. Okay.
Beach evening.
Oh,
Evening.
okay. I heard
Wow.
beach eating, and I'm
It's-
like, that's a
I-
weird thing. And then you're like, they grow on beaches. I'm like, I guess it is beach.
Okay.
The beach evening primrose. I'm
It is
familiar
an
with
evening primrose
I don't know
with the
why that
modifier
didn't
beach.
occur to me.
I heard you correctly,
Oh,
Victoria.
I want to hear about the beach eating primrose. That sounds
That's
better.
a different plant, Kirk. You'll have to look
I mean, that's the
into
kind of thing we talk about on this show, in
is.
my defense.
It is.
So this group of scientists from Israel hypothesized that the flower would increase the sugar content of its nectar in response to the buzzing of its pollinators. So they had the flowers growing in a range
Whoa.
of conditions, both outdoors and indoors at different times of the year, and they played both artificial sounds at different frequencies through speakers, and then also actual bee buzzes from a honeybee. And some of the artificial sounds were at the same frequency range as bee buzz, and some were
Nice. Okay.
lower and some were higher. Or maybe some were like medium and some high. Whatever, anyway.
Yeah.
Some were like a bee and some were not.
Different frequencies.
Yes.
They were testing multiple things. Yeah.
Got it.
They also isolated flowers in soundproof glass jars. Just the flowers, like not the rest of the plant, to test if the flowers themselves, like the petals, were vibrating in response to the sounds. Because their hypothesis was that this was kind of the receiving
How were they
mechanism
hearing?
for the vibrations
Yeah.
of the sound waves. So they found that the primroses produced nectar with significantly higher sugar concentration in response to the recorded bee sounds and also to artificial frequencies in the bee range compared with silence or like higher frequency sounds.
Huh.
Yeah.
That's
And this
stunning.
this
Cool.
response happened within 3 minutes.
Whoa.
Okay. That was kind of thinking like, how fast
the
does this
time?
happen?
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
if bees don't sit by any flower for very long.
And like, how far away do they have to be?
Right.
Ha ha.
But if there's
For
like
it to-
there's a patch of flowers, the flower could respond to them visiting
once-
nearby flowers, right?
If it's a good, they could hear the one next door, or if it's a good day for one bee to be out, lots could be out. Then it makes sense.
They also found that the petals of the flowers did measurably vibrate in response to the buzzing sounds.
Ooh.
So, meaning this is a
That's
plausible
cool.
mechanism for receiving the
Yeah.
sounds.
Plausible.
So this was back in 2019. Then there's some very recent research from a team led by Francesca Barbaro, who's an insect biologist at the University of Turin in Italy. And she led an interdisciplinary and international team that took this previous research a step further. And it compared
Love
how plants react to the sound of a preferred pollinator versus the sound of a known nectar-robbing species.
Oh, cool.
There it is.
Okay.
Yes.
Nice.
So this time they used a different flower. They used the common snapdragon.
Okay.
Okay.
And they made recordings of there's a kind of solitary bee that lives in the Mediterranean region that's known to be a very effective pollinator.
Okay.
And then also a species of bumblebee that's a frequent nectar robber.
Oh,
So 2 different kinds of
I like-
bees, 2
I
different
love
buzzing
that
sounds.
and hate it. I mean, go little bumblebee, you know?
Sure. Encouraging its criminal ways.
I
That
mean,
was so dismissive. Oh, sure.
I
okay.
mean,
Okay, Rachel.
why not? Be a bumble, do crime.
Flower crime. Okay.
I mean, if
Be
anybody's
Bumble,
gonna
do crime. That's the new bumper sticker.
I mean, if anybody's gonna do like a flower crime, it's gonna be a bumblebee. So
I guess.
I'll take it.
Okay.
And they also, for control, recorded kind of background nature sounds. They referred to as pink noise. And so then they compared the response of the snapdragon to the buzzing sounds of the 2 different species of bee and the pink noise, and they checked the sugar content of the nectar after 10 minutes, 3 hours, and 5 days. And within 10 minutes of hearing the pollinators buzz, the flowers had produced a more concentrated nectar, so more sugar.
Ooh.
But when
Nice.
played the sounds of the nectar robbing bumblebee, the flowers made a less sweet nectar.
Wow.
Yeah.
Huh. That's cool.
That is very cool.
And the effect, I guess, lasted for quite a long time as well. So, like, if they kept hearing that flower, they're
Okay.
hearing the right bee, they would keep on doing that.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, that tracks, right? Because if you get what you want at first, even if it's just a little bit, you're gonna still hang around and try to get more, you know?
Yeah.
And I can see how, if there are leaves that somehow stimulate sugar production when they're vibrated at a certain frequency, are selected for because that plant, passes on its genes preferentially because it got pollinated better than other ones because it had more sugar. Like, there's a plausible mechanism for how something like this could evolve.
Yeah.
So that makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
That's really cool.
And of course,
So fun.
once the good pollinator gets rewarded by a sweeter nectar, it's going to want to keep visiting that kind of flower. So then the pollination becomes more effective, right?
For the whole species.
For the whole species. And
Interesting.
the bumblebee is not going to visit as much if it's
Win.
not as sweet and
Not being
nectar.
rewarded.
Yeah.
God. So it's like a positive and the negative selection pressure to have the right frequency response. Super cool.
Yeah.
That's wild.
I just,
I love
plants
that.
hearing was kind of blowing my mind here. So, yeah, I just...
Yeah. It reminds me. Were you on when I did the story about the plants hearing water? Like
Yeah.
their roots hearing water.
Yeah.
And you wonder if there's some. And I had a lot of questions about that study. I'll tell you that. But you wonder if there's some similar sort of mechanism that could be found there having to do with vibrations.
Yeah.
So that's cool.
My sources this week, the first study I talked about was from July 2019. Lead author was Maureen Weitz and colleagues. Published in Ecology Letters. Flowers respond to pollinator sound within minutes by increasing nectar sugar concentration. The other paper was presented this past May 2025 at the annual meeting of the Acoustical Society of America in New Orleans, and there was an article about it in Science News Explorers by Allison Pierce Stevens in July of 2025 that I got a lot of the information from.
Cool.
Nice.
Yeah. That is what
Thank
I
you.
got this week. We are going to take a short break, and when we come back, it'll be Kirk.
Yeah.
I appreciate your enthusiasm, Rachel. Hey, we're back. This week's story comes to us from a highly respected scientific journal with the most dubious name ever.
Okay.
It's one of our favorites.
Is it PNAS?
Back again for more. It's the Proceedings of the National Academy of Science. Rachel, you got it.
Yay!
It's
Our
PNAS.
favorite publisher.
Worst name for a journal ever. Okay.
Oh, they
so-
thought about that.
or best. I don't know, one of
That
the
was
two.
so planned.
This is also a bit of a creature feature, so let's get right to it. This week I have for you a shark. I'm
in.
down Rachel's.
I'm already in.
Kind of going down Rachel's lane here.
Say more.
I'll say, kind of a shark. It isn't a shark, but it is
it a ray?
related to sharks. Well, it's close. It's a cartilaginous fish.
Okay.
Meaning its skeleton is made of cartilage instead of bone, which is true of both sharks and rays. So it's related to them. Now this is pretty weird, right? I mean, having a body that's all cartilage and not bone.
Yeah.
Right.
But that's also sharks and rays also have that. So. Okay, not so special. I wouldn't be talking about it just because of that. These creatures have a variety of common names, many of which are confusing, as they're also used for, some of them are also common names of other species. Problematic there.
Okay.
But basically, this is why Carl Linnaeus came up with the scientific naming system we have today, because it avoids confusion like this. So I started off saying I was talking about a shark because I think most commonly this animal is referred to as a ghost shark, but it can also be called.
I've heard of it.
Me too.
Yeah, it can also be called a ratfish, or a rabbitfish, or a spookfish.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. All right, good. But it also goes by a slightly more scientific name, which is chimera. Now, in Greek mythology, the chimera was usually depicted as a lion with a goat's head protruding from the middle of its back. And it would also have like a tail that ended with a snake's head on the end. It could optionally also sometimes include dragon wings. This doesn't have that stuff, but I say this is sort of perhaps the more scientific name for it because there's about 50 known species, and they're all in the order Chimeriformes. So it's like, that's one way to sort of group these animals together into that order. So we can call them chimera if we wish. Perhaps confusingly, based on the name, the fish does not have a goat's head growing out of its back, but it does have something very strange that was the focus of the research that I referenced in the beginning that I had read. And before we get to that, I want to paint a bit of a picture for you when it comes to these fish, okay?
Okay.
So there's about 50 species of these, so the details are going to vary. But in general, they can grow up to be about 5 feet or 150 centimeters long, so pretty good size. Some of them have a venomous spine on their forward dorsal fin, so that's pretty cool. And there's a lot of variation in how they look. They actually broke off from sharks and rays back in the Devonian, which is about 380 million years ago. So they've been around for a long time, and we can find them throughout the fossil record, including some extinct versions of them. They reached kind of like a heyday when they were very prevalent during the mid-Cretaceous, and they lived in shallow water. But after the mass extinction at the end of the Cretaceous, where the dinosaurs were famously wiped out, they seem to have migrated and changed to becoming mostly deep water fish. Today, they can be found as deep as 2,000 meters, or about 6,600 feet deep, which puts them right smack in the middle of what's called the midnight zone. That's the zone in the ocean where sunlight can no longer penetrate. So there's nothing but darkness. The water is also consistently about 4 degrees centigrade at all times. Like, this is a wild place to live.
Yeah. Just a bit cold.
Yeah. So they're very cool animals. But something that's been known about them for a while, but not fully understood until now, has to do with their reproduction.
Okay.
Now, if we look at
I know what you're
shark
talking
mating,
about today. Oh.
cool.
Oh.
If we look at shark mating,
I almost did this topic.
did you? Scooped you
So
both.
close.
The audience is like, what are you guys talking about? They don't dive through as many things as we do. If you look at the way sharks mate, what usually happens is the male shark will use their sharp teeth to bite a pectoral fin of a female. And they do this essentially to like hold on during mating and stay coupled. The chimera, or the ghost shark, wants to do something similar, but it has a real problem. They don't really have any teeth.
Yep.
If you look in their mouths, you'll see a row of hard plates that they use to crush and grind up their food. But they aren't really teeth. They're made of soft tissue, actually, that then has a mineralized coating on it. So very much like the enamel on our teeth, but instead of enamel, it's a completely different mineral that's used to
Sure.
make them hard, which
What is
is in and of itself, it's named after like some guy. It's like Garionite or something like that. I didn't write it down.
All right.
It's not relevant to our story today, really.
No, it's
But
not.
I think it's very
No,
cool
it's
though
not.
that like we have this whole thing where, again, I've said this in the show before. I love that there's more than one way to do the same thing in nature. So instead of
Right?
having teeth, they've got these mineralized, pallets in their mouth that they use just to crush their food up, and that is very, very cool. Apparently, these plates remind some people of the teeth of rabbits. Apparently, which is why they got the common name rabbit fish. Which I don't see it, but I guess
no. Rabbits.
yeah.
They're
I know. I don't understand.
don't they? Okay.
Yeah.
Whatever floats your boat.
Look, somebody thought they looked like that, and that's why they gave them that name. So here's the conundrum then. What's a male ghost shark to do if they can't use their mouth to grasp onto a female for mating?
What
Why?
should they do?
You just use your extendable tentacle that you can expand out of your forehead and use the tooth-like structures on that tentacle to bite onto the female instead.
Right?
Yes,
of
you
course.
do.
Why would you do anything else? Of course. Yep.
Now-
let's just puncture with this random tentacle you grew out of your forehead.
That all went by pretty fast. So let me restate it another way and slower. The males of these fish have an appendage. I said tentacle, but technically
It's
it's
not.
called a
Forehead.
tenaculum.
Tentacula.
It makes it look like a unicorn almost,
Yeah.
but it's not
it's
a unicorn fish. That is something else.
Tenaculum. It's a very strange structure. I think the best way to picture it is like a finger, like a pointer finger in the middle of their
hate
forehead that can either be relaxed down into their forehead, or like if you make a fist and then kind of like extend your finger out, that's kind of what it does. It's
That's
like a
one thing that
finger
it's
like
like.
claw-like finger.
I
Yeah. Okay,
hate
let's
that.
not be.
You did this to yourself, Kirk.
It's bony. Okay, so
Okay, then.
here's the deal with this. I'm going to call it the finger. The appendage, just plowing right on. The appendage. Here's where the similarities to what you're referring to may be different. This appendage has rows of sharp denticles on the tip that point backwards, and it can be used to
Ow.
grasp onto the pectoral fin during mating.
Ouch.
Basic picture, they extend this out and then probably like clamp it down into that fin to hold on. And what's really wild, and what the new study showed, is that these sharp denticles are not tooth-like.
Of course
They
not.
are, in fact, teeth.
Oh,
Hold on.
wait, it doesn't have
Hold
teeth
on.
in its mouth, but it's
Cartilaginous-
got teeth on its dingle thingy.
But
So, hear me out on this.
dingle thingy.
We're
This
not
is a
sure. We're
cartilaginous
not calling it the
fish.
dingle thingy. The tenaculum. So people had noted in the past that these denticles grow in a way that looks similar to how shark teeth grow, but they're like, well, they can't be teeth because they're not in its mouth, right? But when researchers tested the DNA of these denticles, they discovered that, yeah, they basically are teeth. They're using the same genetic code that produces teeth to produce these shark-like rows of teeth on this thing that's outside of their body and not
Oh my.
Weird.
not in their mouth. So these are teeth that are not grown in the mouth of the animal, but rather on a completely separate appendage. You guys, this
You know,
is so deeply weird.
It's
it is
extremely weird.
It is, especially since they then so they're cartilaginous fish that
Yeah.
have a different mechanism for what they have for a variation of teeth inside their mouth, and then they made their
Which they
own
probably
version
had
of
to
teeth.
develop because they didn't have teeth in their mouth anymore.
Exactly. So instead
All the teeth were on the
Well, I
tenaculum.
think, and all the teeth are on the tenaculum, which is outside of their body. Also, I will take some.
On a movable appendage.
Oh my god. What They wouldn't
That's
have
not their
lost
jaw.
the teeth. No, they wouldn't have lost the teeth that were in their mouth because they're cartilaginous fish, so they wouldn't have had teeth in the first place in their
Well,
mouth.
but
Who
sharks
used them?
do have teeth.
Probably.
Sharks do.
Yeah, but they're cartilaginous fish. They're not sharks.
Well, they're related to both the sharks and the rays when you go
Yeah.
back as far as the Devonians. So they definitely came from the same lineage. So they have probably
They
similar
might have had
DNA.
teeth? Okay.
Well, it's funny you bring that up, Rachel, because
Oh my
part of
God.
this study is they also then went and looked at fossilized chimera
There
because
it
they
is.
wanted to understand how this evolved. And what they found on some of these older chimera are that at one point these teeth were still part of the jaw. And when you look
What?
at much older chimeras, they used to have a long appendage, essentially a tenaculum, but it was just an extension of their jaw, and it stuck out of their mouth. And
So it's
somehow,
like a frog tongue kind of thing with teeth on it.
no, I think they were like swimming around with this like part of their jaw sticking out
Sort of
of
like
their
All the
mouth that
time?
had these.
sort of
clampers
like
on
how
them.
a dragonfly larva can shoot out part of its jaw a little bit.
Okay.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Perhaps, yeah, I wasn't clear on whether
Or like
was
a
it always
stoplight
extended,
jaw
like
fish
yeah,
or
like
whatever.
the loose jaw. Yeah, I wasn't clear if they could shoot it out or if it was just always sticking out. That may be what it was.
Okay.
And they showed how over time this feature migrated to their foreheads as opposed to being part of their jaw.
That is the most
Which-
messed up unicorn horn I've ever heard of. Kirk.
Absolutely. I think what I think this story does for me though is like it's an amazing example of how new biological traits can arise via evolution by repurposing existing structures in new novel ways that they were not originally intended to be for. And that's a really cool thing when we can demonstrate that because you're just like, where the heck did this come from? It's like, well, no, it used to form a different function. Now it serves this function. And that's so cool when we can show that. If you want to read more about this, the paper is called Teeth Outside the Jaw, Evolution and Development of the Toothed Head Clasper in Chimeras.
Genius.
This was by Carly Cohen, Michael Coates, and Gareth Frazier. It was in the September 4th, 2025 issue of PNAS. And as you may know, that is an open access journal, free to read. This article goes way more in depth on these bizarre creatures and their study methods and all that. It's a pretty readable article. So if your curiosity is piqued, it's definitely a cool one to check out. But the ghost fish with sex teeth on its face. I mean, that's what it comes down to.
Oh my god.
Oh, gosh.
What, Kirk.
It's really something.
That really
That may be the title of the episode somehow.
I
We'll
was
see.
just thinking that very thing.
Awful.
Well, I think we've done enough for one episode here. I hope everyone has a fantastic week, and we'll see you next time. Bye-bye, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.
Thanks, everyone, for listening to today's show. Be sure to subscribe. New episodes drop every Wednesday, and we love sharing this strange world with all our listeners. If you would be so kind as to leave us a 5-star rating and review wherever you get your podcasts, that would be great. It lets other lovers of the strange discover the show. You can reach us by searching for Strange by Nature Podcast on Instagram, Facebook, and Blue Sky. You can send us an email as well. Our address is contact@strangebynaturepodcast.com. If you want more information about the show, you can check out our website, strangebynaturepodcast.com, and you can support the show and get ad-free episodes at patreon.com/strangebynature. Until next week, get outside, stay curious, and embrace the strange.